So today I just wanted to go through a more personal video and get to know everyone better, and you guys can get to know me by explaining my entire car history over the last 4 years. I'm 20 years old and I've had 4 cars, and each of them have played a pretty important part in my car culture lifetime, I guess, my timeline. And I guess today we're just gonna be walking through each one of them. I'm gonna show you a different location from each car to explain its significance and hopefully get a better feel of what those cars meant to me. So before we get too far in the video, I just wanted to ask if you guys liked the video, please leave a like, because it does help me in the channel a lot. If there's any questions anyone has, please leave them in the comments. I would love to respond to them, and I love hearing from you guys. If you want to see more of my content, please, again, feel free to subscribe, as it does help me in the channel out a lot. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. So for the first location, I'm at my old high school. This was the place I got my first car in grade 11. I was 16, I believe, when I bought it off my cousin. I just had my first job. I saved up enough money and I bought it from my cousin for a good deal because he was getting a new car and blah, 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 blah. And this high school is where it all started. First car I bought was a 2001 Volkswagen Golf base model. So DE, I believe it was. 2-liter automatic Mark IV Golf, and it meant a lot for me. We named it Sid. That's what it was known by. Even my friends still to this day know my car as Sid. No one ever calls it the Golf, your past car, whatever. It's always, do you remember Sid, or stories about Sid. And the car had a lot of significance in my life. It's the car that propelled me into the car scene. It's the one that actually made me excited to work on cars, and it's the car that got me into cars. If I never got that, I wouldn't have been into the car scene, even at this point, I don't believe. We named him Sid because after my buddy Kale and I were sitting in the car driving around, we saw the lights in the back of a tailgate, and that it looked like Sid the Sloth eyes. So I immediately stuck from that, and we've just been riding with it ever since. That's pretty much what my brand's gonna be in the future, hopefully. It's all gonna be Sid banners and all that, just because it has such a big significance to me. And at my old high school, it was crowned best car of the year. The car was absolutely horrible. It was rusted out, it had 1,000 problems. The transmission, the clutch inside of the automatic transmission was fused to the torque plate, or the torque converter, and you couldn't replace the fluids. The car slipped. There was a couple big slips on the highway where everyone got lurched forward because it was not good. The transmission was awful. But yeah, it won best car of the year somehow. Everyone loved it. We got everyone in my grade to vote for best car, and it's still to this day one of my greatest achievements as a car person. I absolutely love it. Eventually, I do want another. Sadly, I couldn't get this one to stay, and if I could still have it to this day, I would. But it had 320,000+ kilometers on it, as well as it was completely rotted out. I brought it to a garage once because I wasn't mechanically inclined, not saying I still am. I wasn't mechanically inclined enough to work on it myself, so when I brought it to a garage, they had to do something, and when they tried to lift it, the frame bent around the hoist arms instead of actually lifting the car, so I could never get work done to it. I couldn't do anything with it because we couldn't lift the car up unless you had a 4-post, but even still, it was a little bit risky trying to switch tires over and all that. So the car pretty much stayed as it was the entire time. No repairs, no fixing. And sadly, it did die after about a year of owning it. I was on my way to a funeral, and while I was driving, the car just like shut off. All the lights turned on, car was done, oil pressure light came on and everything, so I'm like, okay, that must be it. And me being stupid at that point, I poured more oil thinking that's what the light was, and I think I just over flooded the engine, tried to run it, and it was kaput. I didn't have the money, the car wasn't worth fixing, and that was the end of Sid's legacy, sadly. But I do plan to own another one. I'm gonna say I do want another Mark IV in the future, and I want to fully commemorate Sid to its extent. All the plans I had for it at the time, I want to get it wrapped foil purple, wide-bodied. I want it to go to no extent spending money on this car. That is going to be one of my future builds. I want that to eventually be a show car in my life. That's where I want this car to be eventually. Sid was a very, very popular car, I guess, at my school, as it just wasn't for me, but all my friends absolutely adored the car. Everyone did. That's the car we took to do anything. I I wasn't one of my first with the license, but I was one of the first with my own car. So I'd never have to borrow a car. All of us would go out, and mainly Sid. The purple broken tint in the inside was just another huge factor to the car. Everyone loved the car, and everyone wants me to get it back eventually. There's so many great memories in it, and it's gonna be a legacy in my heart forever. So my second car has been on the channel. You all have seen it before. It was only briefly because I took it out of storage after winter, but second car was my 2005 Infiniti G35 all-wheel drive sedan. We named this car Lenny. It was a 3.5 liter automatic all-wheel drive sedan. We named it Lenny after the shark from Shark Tales. That's the movie, right? We named it Lenny after the shark from Shark Tale because of the big bubbly lights at the front. It kind of looked like a hammerhead. And again, in another tailgate. It's a very common theme for how we name our cars. They're mostly after Pixar Disney movies, and usually named after we see the car's headlights in the back of a tailgate and we can see what it kind of resembles. So Lenny was the second car that I've ever owned, and was the car that truly pushed me into the automotive direction. This is the car that made me want to work on cars fully, because I wanted to learn more about it, and I wanted to learn how to modify my car personally and do it myself. I didn't want to buy anything. I wanted to do everything I could myself. I chose the car because my dream car from the beginning of high school, once I was actually looking to buy a car, was a G37, and this was the closest I could get with the budget I was on. My Golf said broke, and I needed to find something to get me from work and school back home and all the way around, just to hang out with friends and do what I could while I could. And this is the car that I bought. I decided to go the step down from my dream car, as I thought it could suffice for the time being, and it was a great car. I loved it. I loved everything about it. For the power it had at the age I was at, it was so much fun, and it was the car that I learned to drift in the winter. And that's a very Canadian thing. Everyone that has snow, I'm gonna say, not even Canadian, anywhere that there's snow in the world, snow drifting is one of the best experiences you can have. It's so much fun. And this is the car that I'm like, hey, it's all-wheel drive, let's just send it. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of great stories I had in this car. My favorite being the week I got it, it was snowing, and I decided to take my car winter drifting. I think this is the third time I took it out. I know, 3 times in the first week. A little bit sketchy because it was a brand new car for me. But I decided to take it out drifting. And I was drifting around the parking lots, and I got pretty good at it. I was just practicing. And I was at my old school, the high school we were just at, and some kids came in, and I went, okay, I'm gonna show off and leave the parking lot. And there's a small little gap for your car to fit through. It's just a driveway in and out to the public road. And I'm like, okay, it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. Let's drift out of it and look like we're really cool. So I decided to take the corner and slide out, but instead I took it way too fast and just power slid straight into the side of the snowbank. Super embarrassing. I drove off, parked down the street to make sure I didn't break anything. I was so scared. I was praying that my window didn't break or my mirror didn't break and whatnot. So I parked down the road, checked it all out, and then I'm like, okay, perfect, the car's fine, we're good. No one's gonna know. I went in the next day to school, and I pulled into the parking lot, and my car's outline was straight in the side of the snowbank. Mirror, window, wheels, everything was in the snowbank that I crashed into, and it was the talk of the school for the day because no one knew who crashed their car, and secretly it was me. So if anyone that went to my school's watching, that was me. The car was great. There was absolutely no issues in the beginning, and when I bought it, it was pretty cheap. I only got the car for $2,500. Not certified, but there was no mechanical issues whatsoever. There's a little bit of rust on the roof, and there was the scratches and on the mini dings and whatnot all over the car, like you'd find for a $2,500 car, and it only had 220, I want to say, on it, which is perfect. That's all I needed. I just needed a car to get from school to work and back and just have some fun with my own time, because I knew I wanted to get more into cars, and this car did exactly what I intended it to. Near the end of its lifespan, it gained way too many problems, and I couldn't hold on to it for much longer. It had 3 wheel bearings go. 2 of them were in 1 wheel. It had the compression rod on the left side went, and I replaced that. The upper control arm started going. The power steering rack and all the lines were rotted out, and the rack was just cooked. And then the big seller was the drive shaft. The drive shaft, I don't know if it came unbalanced or what, but it was about to let go. And if I was driving on the highway and the drive shaft let go, it would have completely destroyed the engine, it would have destroyed everything, and it could have been very, very dangerous to put myself in that situation. So I decided to sell it. That's, if you want a full explanation, it's all in a video in the I think last year I'd made. So if you want to go see that, please go check it out and you can understand exactly why I had to sell it, but that's just a brief version. But the car was everything that I needed, and it was great. I brought this location. This is a parking lot that I used to sit on my lunch when I got my new job in the automotive world, because to celebrate. I liked being in isolation. I liked having my own lunch where I could watch Netflix and eat by myself. And during this road, I looked up during my lunch and I saw Robbie Ferreira, who is my favorite automotive YouTuber. I saw him drive by, and that was a great experience for me. I know it was nothing big, but I saw the BRZ and I thought it was super exciting about it. And this is one of the best memories I had in this car, was just sitting at these lunches, isolated, and then seeing one of my favorite YouTuber drive by. I thought that was super cool. So the third car I've owned is my 2009 Infiniti G37 S Coupe named Charlotte. Charlotte is a 3.7 liter manual 2-door coupe and is my absolute dream car. I love it. The goal for the car, I saved up enough after I had my G35, and luckily, unluckily, they died by the same time I could buy the other one, and I bought Charlotte as pretty much a success jump. I had a job, I had a stable, like a career, I guess we can say, and I finally saved up enough after 4 years to buy my dream car, and I was ecstatic when I could get it. I first saw the car when I met someone online, and we were just chit-chatting, talking, and I saw his Instagram story where he had the car. I asked him what it was, and I fell in love with it immediately. The look of the car, I fell in love with everything, and I decided from then, 4 years later, to buy the car. I've wanted it every year up to then, and I saved every penny I could to try and get there. That's why I chose this spot to record Charlotte's entry, I guess, and this is because this is the first location I ever filmed a video on my channel. You can go back and look. I accidentally stumbled across this place looking for a good place to film my intro for the channel, and this is where I came. I actually haven't visited since, but I'm so happy I did because it's very nostalgic. It's just been over a year, and I'm very sad that her 1 year anniversary, she was in pieces, because I got in my accident in May with my G37. If you didn't see any of my other channels or my other videos, please feel free to give them a watch. Explains the entire story. But my car is totaled currently and is sitting out, and that's sad because we just passed the 1 year anniversary 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and I wish we could be here, right here, celebrating with it, but it is what it is. Big plans coming in the future. This car was the car that I planned to film my entire video with it, and I have many plans for her, and I think it's going to be my all-time favorite build. And there's stuff coming currently, and I'm super excited. My hood, my final part, just got shipped out, so we should have it back on the road in the next month, but it's only going to have a couple weeks to drive because I do got to put it away for Canadian winters. The accident did cause a lot of issues in my life personally, because financially, mentally, and everything else, I had to make the decision whether or not to keep it or to take the money from the write-off. And this is something I really did want to talk about on the channel, because this is kind of the point you have to make, where is your dream really worth it? And personally it is. I know that I want that car to be on the channel and in my life for the rest of it, and I had to make the call on whether to scrap it or not. I got put into a position I shouldn't be in financially, but I'm making it back out. I'm crawling out. And mentally it's not been healthy for me, because every day that's all I think about is fixing that car, or whether I'd made the right choice, or what if I didn't get in the accident, and everything like that. So just make sure you plan out and figure out if it's worth it or not. Really keep track of your goals if this ever happens to you. I really pray it doesn't, but if it does, just keep track of your goals and make sure this isn't going to put you in a position where it put me, and just make the right decision. The dream of having this car back on the road is the only thing keeping me sane, especially through COVID and through all these unprecedented times. I just can't wait to have it back on the road. If you didn't know, this car does have a couple mods. It has an exhaust, has an intake, and quite a few cosmetic mods. If you want to go look at my other videos, please again feel free. And that's about it. I have a lot of stories with the car. This is one of my best ones. It's just starting my YouTube career, because I do have dreams that eventually this is where I want to be. And it was also the first car I took to a car show. I had a lot of great memories going stargazing in it, going for road trips. It was a lot of fun, and this car is my absolute favorite car I've ever owned. So my fourth car I bought was my 2010 Mitsubishi Lancer DE. Nothing crazy about it. It was my winter beater. After I bought my G37, I needed this as my winter beater just so I didn't have to put my nice car through all the winter harsh weather in Ontario. I've explained that in many videos before. I know you guys don't want to hear it again, but this car was pretty much an impulse buy. I spent all my money on my G37 and didn't really know what to do once the winter came, and I found a pretty cheap car. It was only listed for $3,500. I accidentally talked him down, but I got it for $22, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, which was beautiful. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be my worst car because it is at 290,000 kilometers, and I didn't expect much for it. I just expected it to get me through the winter, but it has been an absolute lifesaver. When I first bought it, it had absolutely no problems. To get through safety, I believe actually it only needed a tie rod, and that was it. Still to this day, it hasn't caused me any issues whatsoever other than the tires are leaking. Can't complain about that though. I'll just fill them up every once in a while. This car has been an absolute lifesaver though. Getting through the winter was already enough for me, and it already paid back what I spent on it. But then it also saved me because I got in my accident with my G37. This is the car that I've been driving to get around. The G37 would have been a much bigger issue if the Lancer wasn't around, because then I would have had to either rented a car and or bought another one and or borrowed, but I don't have people to borrow off of. So it would have been a lot more stressful situation if I didn't still have this car on the road and this car ready to me at any time. Plus it still hasn't given me any issues, and I can't complain about that. It's been amazing. When I went to go look at the car, I asked the guy if I would be able to come at 2 o'clock, and I don't know what happened, but over text he must have been a little bit confused, and he said the lowest he can go is $2,000. I'm like, perfect. Or the lowest, he said the lowest I can do is 22. I can't go any lower than that. And I went, perfect. You just cut over $1,000 off the price, over a third of the price, by misunderstanding that I wanted to come at 2 o'clock. I texted him right back. I went, okay, perfect. I can do 2,200. Can I come see the car at 2 o'clock though? And he's like, oh. Yeah, I guess so. So I'm like, perfect. I got the car for much cheaper for absolutely nothing. But this car's been great. I've had a lot of great stories with it for no reason. I don't do anything in it. I didn't expect to mod it at all. It was supposed to just be a stock winter beater to get me through the winter, but it is what it is. I've gotten stuck in the hole several times, or I've been stuck on dirt several times in ice and snow, and I've had to get pulled out by my buddies, but that's all because of my own stupidity. Other than that, the car works great in the winter. And I've had a lot of great times in it, such as having to call my buddy Kale at 12 o'clock at night, give or take, to go pull me out of the snow. That's in another video that I'll link down in the description below if you want to go check it out. I have a full story over it, and there's videos and whatnot. But I've done a lot in the car for absolutely no reason, and it's been great. I love it. If I'm to do anything in this car, I was planning on making it a wish build, and I still am planning to do that, and I have a whole video explaining that part. But at the moment, I'm excited to see what comes in the future. So I chose this location because it is the place I've sat in this car the most, just to think and write over my YouTube stuff and write video ideas and do all my work here. It's nice. I record most of my spots here. If you don't recognize it, I record a lot of my videos here, my reviews and everything, just because it's a very nice spot and I feel comfortable. I do all my background work here, and it's been great. But that's gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, please leave a like, because it does help me in the channel a lot. If you want to see more of my content, please feel free to subscribe, because again, it does help me in the channel a lot. And that's gonna be it. Thanks guys again for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.